And even simple linear regression is useful for many things. So only so this everybody wants to learn data science and other things, but it is just statistics repackaged into a new name. That's all. So if you have learned your basic statistics, if you learned your metrology, it will be useful in even any topic, machine learning or data science, etc. So regression is relationship between two variables. So the source of data will be like this. Suppose we have n pairs of data, x1, y1, x2, y2, etc., xn, yn. So there are two variables, x and y. We are trying to find out a relationship between the two. So that Google class gives the temperature versus number of chirps by grasshoppers. So we can think of any two variables. So in metrology, we'll be mostly concerned with calibration, where x will be the measurement standard and y will be the indication of the measuring instrument. So we give standard input quantity. So we have defined calibration. So there are two stages. First stage is we establish a relationship between measurement standards and the corresponding indications. And second stage, we use that relation to obtain the measurement result. So suppose we have n pairs of data. So during calibration over a range, say a pressure gauge. So next lab class we will be studying that. We will be calibrating a pressure gauge over a range. So from say 0 to 5 bar or so. So we take readings 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We give standard inputs and corresponding readings of the pressure gauge are noted. So we get data like this. For with input 0, what is the output shown by the dial? So that is xi is the regressor variable controlled by the experimenter and measured with negligible error. So in regression, we assume that x has very low uncertainty, while the response y is a random variable. So this actually, because I have taken this from a statistics book, this says it's negligible error, but of course now it should be, in metrology we should say negligible uncertainty. So regression, of course the topic is common to all, many subjects. So in measurement uncertainty, this should be measured with negligible uncertainty, very small uncertainty. So let us take an example and see the calculations, how we establish a relation between two variables x and y. So this is during calibration of a hardness tester, we gave some standard hardness values using different hardness blocks and then obtain the readings. So there is some discrepancy in the reading. So these readings are not matching. So can we use this data to correct the readings of the instrument? So that is the calibration of a hardness testing machine. So only 5 readings are taken, say from 285, maybe between 300 to 500 is the calibration blocks we are having. So this calibration may be valid only in that range. So for each, so when we gave a hardness block of 500, the reading shown was only 256. When we gave a block of 431, the reading was 212, like that. So we get different values, different pairs of readings, xi and yi. So we need to find a relationship between x and y. So simplest equation which can be used is a straight line. So how can we fit a straight line? So you can think of various methods. So maybe simplest is eyeball. You look and fit a best fitting line. The difficulty is different people may get different answers. And for one independent variable, okay, eyeball fitting is okay, but when there are many variables, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional and all, eyeball fitting is impractical. We can't really view all the variables at a time. So different criteria can be used. So for example, one possible criteria is sum of the absolute values of the errors. What is the absolute value of the error? Yi is the observed value. Yi cap is the predicted value using your mathematical model. Difference between that is the error, and its absolute value, and take the sum, that will be sum of absolute errors. So if you find a straight line such that, so yi cap defines the straight line. So if you find a straight line such that the sum of the absolute errors is a minimum, then that is one criteria for determining the line. Another criteria is the sum of the square of the errors should be minimized. So sum of the square of the errors. The error is yi minus yi cap. So square of that and add it up. So that is the least square criteria. So developed by Gauss. So advantage is that this simplifies many formulae. So very simple formula we are able to get. Because this, it is very difficult to get a formula for sum of absolute errors. So every time you have to do it, and how to find the coefficients, that is also very difficult. Whereas the method of least squares, the coefficients can be easily solved. We can get direct equations for the slope and intercept of the line. So that is why we prefer this. So in order to determine the line, first let us define the terms. So x is your standard input quantity. Y is the indication of the instrument. So xi, this yi is the corresponding indication for a particular input xi. Then the value predicted by the line, that is yi cap. So the difference between the two, yi minus yi cap, is the residual. So we are not calling it error because this is what is remaining after fitting the model. So that is why it is called a residual. So epsilon I is the residual. So the aim, so what we are trying to do is to fit a sample regression model. So that is, we have a certain sample of points, and using that we are trying to fit a sample regression model. Yi equal to beta naught plus beta 1 xi plus epsilon I, where beta naught and beta 1 are constants, and epsilon is normally distributed with mean 0 and variance sigma square. So this is the notation followed in by Montgomery. His books all use this notation. So the residuals have a mean of 0. Expected value is 0 and variance sigma square. So we have to determine beta naught and beta 1. That is the aim. So the point estimate of the mean of y for a particular x is given by yi cap equal to beta naught cap plus beta 1 cap into xi. So if you give some value of xi, we can get some value of yi cap. So that is the point estimate of the mean of y for a particular x. So minimizing the sum of squares of the errors or actually residuals. So partial derivative of sum of squares of the errors with respect to beta naught should become 0 if it is a minimum. And sum of squares of the errors with respect to partial derivative with respect to beta 1 should also be 0. So we have two equations to find out beta naught and beta 1. Solving, we get the estimated value of the slope as beta 1 cap equal to Cs of xy by Cs of xx. So this is just another notation which is helpful to us in calibration, because to compute the uncertainties we need these quantities. So that's why we prefer to write it this way. Other ways also, the estimated value of the y-intercept is beta naught. So once you find beta 1 cap using this equation, you can substitute this beta 1 cap here. Beta naught cap equal to y bar minus beta 1 cap into x bar. So y bar is average of y, x bar is average of the x values. So beta 1 cap we have estimated from here. So once you estimate, so we have to find out what are the Cs of xy and Cs of xx. So that is given in the next slide. So CS stands for corrected sum of squares of x. So sum of squares of x is sigma of xi squared. Now you correct for the mean. So this correction is for the mean. So if mean is 0, this correction will be 0. So sigma xi into sigma xi by n, sigma xi whole square. Sigma xi by n is the mean. So when mean is 0, sigma xi will become 0. So this term will become 0. So that is, so then when mean is not 0, this corrected sum of xx is sigma x squared corrected for the mean. Similarly, the corrected sum of the cross product of x and y is defined as CS of xy. So x is x squared. So xy means sigma of x into y minus sigma x into sigma y by n. So when it becomes xx, this will become x into x, that is x squared, sigma x into sigma x whole square by n. So both are very similar formulae, easy to remember. So CS of xx, CS of xy, and slope is CS of xy by CS of xx. So normal equations. So this is another way which is this solution to the regression equation is expressed in many books as normal equations. So we start with this equation. We are trying to fit a model of the form y1 equal to beta naught plus beta 1 xi. So simply put sigma in front of each. Sigma I equal to 1 to n of yi. Put sigma I equal to 1 to n of beta naught plus beta 1 into sigma I equal to 1 to n of xi. So if you add beta naught n times, what will happen? You will get n beta naught. So that means this becomes sigma yi equal to n beta naught plus beta 1 into sigma xi. Now multiply each term by xi. Sigma of xi yi equal to beta naught into sigma xi plus beta 1 into xi is xi squared. So these two equations, we say they are the normal equations. So if you solve these two equations, so if you know the x and y values, you can calculate sigma y, sigma x, sigma xi yi, sigma x and sigma xi squared. So once you know those values, n is the number of samples. Once you know these values, you can solve for these two equations and get beta naught and beta 1. So we can directly multiply and subtract and solve for beta 1 and beta naught directly in terms of the sigma x and sigma y terms. So in your calculators, they have programmed this equation so that you can enter x and y values and get beta 1 and beta naught. Okay, so this all thing you have learned in third semester, we are just refreshing. So now let us apply it to the previous example, xy, x squared. So this is some sigma of xi, this is sigma of x squared. So corrected sum of x into x is sigma x squared minus sigma x whole square by n. So please, I asked you to bring the form. Please write down the values in that boxes, corresponding boxes. So in our lab class also we'll be using this form a lot. So fill in these quantities and solve for CS of xx. So sigma x squared minus sigma x whole square by n. That is 756927 minus 1907 squared by 5. That is 29597.2. Similarly, CS of xy equal to sigma of xi yi minus sigma x into sigma y by n. That is equal to 3783 87 minus 1907 into 950 by 5. So that works out to 16057. So we have calculated CS of XX, CS of XY. Okay, so please do it yourself parallelly. So anyway, we'll do a problem in EduServer like this with a sample practice problem is there, which you can attempt 3 times, and the best one will be taken as credit. So with numbers keep changing every time. So now beta 1 cap is equal to CS of xy by CS of xx. So we have calculated the two quantities, 16057 by 29597.2, that is equal to 0.542517. So this is the slope of the best fitting line. Then the intercept beta naught cap. So cap is stands for estimate. So from the sample, we are trying to estimate the parameter of the population. So that's why this cap stands for an estimate of the population value. So beta naught cap is y bar minus beta 1 cap into x bar, that is equal to 190 minus 0.5425175 into 381.4 equal to minus 16.916175. Okay, so an important thing is this is a big quantity. This is also a big quantity. So the difference between the two will be a small quantity. So if you want to get sufficient number of digits in the difference, you have to maintain more digits for these two quantities. Okay, maintain sufficient digits so that the difference has necessary digits. For example, if you have 4 digits, 1980, 4 significant digits, 1982, and minus 1975. So difference is 1982 minus 1975. So both terms have 4 digits, 4 significant digits, but the difference will be having only is 7, which is having only 1 digit, 1 significant digit. So that is the problem when you are subtracting 2 different quantities. So don't round off early, then you will lose marks. You may lose marks. So it depends. Sometimes you may be lucky. So if you make any mistake, EduServer will not give you marks. If it is more than, error is more than 1%. Okay, so this is the regression coefficients we have determined. Next, we determine the residuals. So we are interested, so many times that up to that is enough. But for us now, that is not enough. We have to determine the uncertainties. So first, let us determine the residuals. So epsilon I is yi minus yi cap. So yi is the observed value. So it is just like error, measured quantity value minus a reference quantity value. So, but yi cap is equal to beta naught cap plus beta 1 cap into xy. So now we can substitute xi in this. Since beta naught cap and beta 1 cap we have estimated, we can calculate yi cap and then calculate the residuals. So in the example, yi cap is 254.34. Epsilon I will be yi minus yi cap 1.66. Okay, so all this is available in the EduServer. Please, in case of doubt, please, okay, you should try it for yourself and practice before attending the problem in EduServer. Okay, so now we have got the residuals. Sum of the squares of the residuals is. So these residuals, so actually how did we determine the slope and intercept? They have been determined such that the sum of the squares of the residuals is a minimum. So what is the sum of the squares of the residuals? Let us calculate of sigma of epsilon squared. Then estimated variance of regression, sigma cap square is sum of squares of error divided by n minus 2. Why n minus 2? So we have determined two coefficients, beta naught and beta 1 from the data. So 2 degrees of freedom have been lost. So in type A evaluation, when calculating standard deviation, when calculating standard deviation, we are dividing by n minus 1. Why? Because 1 degree of freedom has been lost. Now, we are calculating the standard deviation in regression. Sigma is the standard deviation regression. Sigma square is variance of regression. So we have to divide by n minus 2. So this is the mean square error. Perhaps since on our terminology we are saying residuals, it should be mean square of residuals. Okay. So we calculate all the residuals, and sum square of the residuals is sum of square these and add. That is 58.96. So mean square error is divided by the degrees of freedom n minus 2. So we estimate two coefficients, beta naught and beta 1. 2 degrees of freedom have been lost. So mean square error is sum of square error by n minus 2. That is 58.796 by 3 equal to 19.5986. So standard of y is constant over the entire range. It is equal to square root of the mean square error. So this is one of the first uncertainties that we find. So this is the uncertainty in y, which is assumed constant over the range. So that is equal to 4.4270. So after computing the uncertainties, we can check whether the model is good. So there are a number of tools for that. There is a whole lot of methods that have been developed to check the goodness of the fit. So some of the assumptions made are that the residuals are normally distributed with mean 0, variance sigma square. So we check for the normality of the residuals by making a normal probability plot. Then another assumption is that each reading is independent of the previous one. So to check that, we can plot a graph of the residual versus the run order, the order in which you did the experiment. So that is check on independence. Then another assumption is that the uncertainty is constant over the range. So whatever be the value of the variable, it doesn't matter. Residual is same. So to check that, we plot a graph for residual versus predicted value, and residual versus independent variable. Independent variable here is xi. So we plot a graph of all these values. So predicted value is y. So it should be constant. There should not be any non-random pattern in these graphs. So this is a very important subject. So many statistical software, of course, many of these it is very difficult to calculate manually. So we will not be doing this part, but this is very important. If you have access to software, and of course Excel, all this is available. So you can do regression in Excel. Please find out. You have to perhaps install a package, to install an add-on, then only that regression will work. Okay, so you have to do tools, add-ins, add these analysis toolpack packages, and then tools, data analysis. So we have regression. So input y range, input x range, labels, confidence interval, constant 0, then output options, where you want to output, residuals, can be residuals, direct residuals or standardized residuals. You divide by the standard uncertainty, that is the standardized residuals. Residual plots, all the graphs it will provide, line fit plots, normal probability plots. So Excel will give you everything. All these are there, but otherwise your calculator this will not give. So because of that, we are not insisting on you to do this part. But this is actually very important. You can identify how good is your residual regression equation by checking these graphs. So now, so that much is over. If all the residual graphs are okay, so that means we can use that model for prediction. So now what will be the uncertainty in the slope and y-intercept of the regression equation? So standard uncertainty of slope is given by standard uncertainty small u of beta 1 cap is equal to square root of mean square error divided by corrected sum of x into x. So this is the uncertainty of the slope. Then, so of course, where CS of xx is this quantity. So this is why we are writing the regression equation coefficients in this form using CS of xx, because we need this quantity to compute the uncertainties. So unfortunately, the calculator, the standard Casio calculator does not have the CS of xx formula, or even the uncertainties are not available. So, but it is available in Excel, so you can always do the problems using Excel. At least once you do by hand, and then you should do. For the exam also, you can use Excel, no problem. So please learn Excel. I think I have already told you. So nowadays, engineers have to know PowerPoint, Excel, Word. There's no two thoughts about it. So please learn Excel. So this is corrected sum of xx is here. So you can calculate uncertainty of beta 1 cap as 0.025727. Then, so now we have got standard uncertainty of slope. An expanded uncertainty of the slope is, expanded uncertainty is denoted by the symbol capital U of beta 1 cap equal to TP n minus 2 into standard uncertainty of beta 1 cap. So this formula we had seen previously. So now you just multiply by the T factor to get a coverage interval or expanded uncertainty of the slope, and plus or minus this expanded uncertainty will be equal to the coverage interval. So T, so with, when you take the T table, so if there are 5 sets of data, degrees of freedom has to be chosen 5 minus 2, 3. Okay, so that is very important. So T n minus 2 for 95% with n minus 2 degrees of freedom is 3.18. So that multiplied by standard uncertainty will give the expanded uncertainty. And then what is left now? Only coverage interval. So coverage interval for slope, T% coverage interval for the slope is coverage interval for beta 1 cap equal to beta 1 cap plus or minus expanded uncertainty of beta 1 cap. Okay, so this is 5.542517 plus or minus 0.081812. And we can get the two limits of the 95% confidence interval for beta 1 cap. Okay, so now we come to the uncertainty of the y-intercept. The estimated standard uncertainty of the y-intercept is uncertainty of beta naught cap equal to square root of mean square error into 1 by n plus x bar square by CS of xx. So this formula has to be used. And then this is standard uncertainty. A coverage interval will be obtained by multiplying this by the standard uncertainty. So coverage interval for beta naught cap equal to beta naught cap plus or minus TP comma n minus 2 plus TP n minus 2 into standard uncertainty of beta naught cap. Okay, so that completes the uncertainty in beta naught, that is y-intercept. So in the example, substituting the values, we get uncertainty of beta naught is 10.012. So coverage interval for beta naught is minus 16.916 plus or minus 3.18 plus or minus into 10.012 equal to minus 48 to 14.94. So we can see that this coverage interval includes 0. That means beta naught cap is not very significant. So there is a possibility that we can eliminate beta naught from the model. We don't have to fit a line. So we don't have to fit an intercept. We can simply have just a multiplicative coefficient. So now uncertainty the mean response. The P% coverage interval, the mean response at the point x equal to x naught is given by this formula. So if x naught equal to 300, what will be y? Then this is for calibration. This is not important, so that part we'll skip. Next is uncertainty for a single prediction. A P% coverage interval for the future observation y naught is y naught cap plus or minus TP n minus 2 into square root of mean square error into 1 plus 1 by n plus Tx minus x bar, 1 plus x naught minus x bar whole square by Cs of xx. Okay, so this is the coverage interval for y naught. So for the previous data, that will be equal to, so we have 5 sets of data. X naught is 300, x bar is 381.4. We get 129 to 162.65. It's a 95% coverage interval for y naught. So for x naught. Uncertainty for a mean prediction. Okay, this you can skip this. Now we come to calibration. So during calibration, so we have seen what is calibration we have defined. So it is, we establish a relation between standard quantities and the corresponding indications. We establish a relationship and then use this relation to obtain the measurement result. So this is the relationship between Xi indication and the standard input quantity. So after calibration, we have this equation of line. So now what is the output is somewhere here. So what will be the best estimate of the input? So corresponding to one value of x naught, we have to determine the value of y naught using the regression equation. That is the best estimate of the measurement result. So uncertainty in calibration. If this regression equation is used as a calibration equation to determine the value of x naught corresponding to observation of y naught, then the point estimate of x naught is y naught minus beta naught cap by beta 1 cap. So how you get the equation of the line from the other quantities is shown here. So for example, if x naught, y naught is 200, so the instrument indication is 200, what will be the best estimate of the measurement result? So you substitute here y naught equal to 200, 200 minus 16.9162 by 0.5425, that is equal to 399.8455. So we have estimated the measurement result from the indication using the calibration equation. So now we have to determine an uncertainty for the predicted value. So Actually, there is a big equation here. So we'll skip this and use a shortcut method, an approximate solution to determine the uncertainties. The previous equation is given in the book by Montgomery, Peck, and Viney. So in that book, the other equations are given. So this is an approximate method. The standard uncertainty in the predicted true value. So we have got the uncertainty in y. What will be the so we are assuming that uncertainty y is constant over the range. So uncertainty y naught is same. So now what is the uncertainty in x naught? That is equal to uncertainty of x naught equal to uncertainty of y by beta 1. Beta 1 is the slope of the regression line. So in our problem, uncertainty of x naught is 4.427 by 0.542517 is 8.16. So a p% coverage interval for the predictor value is multiplied by p nu p x bar x cap naught cap plus or minus tp n minus 2 into standard uncertainty of x naught. So 399.8455 was the x naught cap value we had calculated earlier, plus or minus these two values. So the 95% coverage interval for the predictor value is 373.896 to 425.7946.